All right, so we are live. All right, let me see here. Yes. All right, so we are live. Hello, wonderful people. I hope there are people who are watching. It's only a minute. So, hello, wonderful people. Welcome to Malibu TV. This is Coach Malibu, your holistic life and wellness coach, an author, and an accredited meditation practitioner. Welcome. I see there is one person watching us. We are here with Mr. Majia to talk about how we can grow together in marriage as a couple or even in a relationship, because I believe that's where things are starting. But anyway, before we go further, let me welcome Mr. Machie. Mr. Machie, hello. How are you? How has been your day?
Hello, Coach. Hi to the everyone who's joining us today. The day has been very hectic, and but this is the moment that I've been looking forward to, because this is where we actually engage with people on matters of the heart, and that is all I'm passionate about. So yeah, I'm happy to be here.
That is wonderful. So today I have two questions for you. The first question is coming from me, and the second question is coming from another person who is always watching us, whether it's a live or a replay. So the first question, actually, I'm going to take you through this whole thing is, and I spoke about it last week, that when I wanted a man or when I wanted to get married, I was never attracted to people who are in ministry, like those ones who are singing and who are so in the piano, even though they were singing so beautifully and all that. But I looked at them like the brother. And that was all, right? And I think my reason is because I like to bend the rules. So I know that, hey, when you get to those brothers who are deep in church, they are not going to allow you to do that. Ne? So today, and actually a friend of mine who was also dating a brother who was hands-on in the church, not so long ago, I see this friend of mine saying, actually she wrote a status and say, born again Christian man, and then that thing of a dustbin, like. And today then I get onto a Facebook group for women, and these women are complaining about born again Christian men, that hi, you know what, I would rather marry a guy who, you know, whoever, but from the born again Christian, they are complaining that these guys don't want to work. They like God will provide, and then they are so rigid, like you know, haba relaxed, you know. And I am also thinking that, not with me, my basis was that my husband should know that there is a God and also have the principles of God, but not that, you know, there and worshiping God every day and doing the pianos, because no, I don't want that. So what do you think? Is that even correct, that I know that you were once in ministry, and I thought this question is for Tabo, because Tabo was once in ministry and he can tell us. Tell us, Tabo.
Uh, Coach, I am a born again brother. I was in the worship team. I was, you know, the kind of guy who always wants to go to church, and I still do. And I don't know what kind of experiences that may have made you and other people to feel like, you know what, these born again brothers are a no go. You know, I think we need to know what we are looking for. You know, we need to know what we are looking for. You can't say you want somebody in the church, but then you don't like what they do in the church. You can't say you want to be with someone who goes or maybe who's in ministry, who loves God, but then when they show up you, or when they live the life that shows to them that they are for God, and then you say, no, this is too much. I remember there's a movie that I once watched, like, those seriously born again sisters. She is so born again that, hey, you can't even say certain words which are actually just as innocent as can be, and she was in the church, but she also did not like church brothers. She was one of them, she was one with them, but she didn't want any of them. So what she did, she actually went out and found an ordinary brother, and she found this ordinary brother, brought him to church, and he was the type of brother that she would actually tell, no, you can't say words like this, you can, you see what the problem. She found him in the world, and he
Mm.
was living this type of life where he would go partying, he would drink alcohol, he would, he was not that person who would pray 24/7 a day,
Yeah.
and she was that type of a person. So when they got together, she introduced the brother to church. And now the brother thought, wow, this is the life that I want. And when he started being serious in things of God, becoming more like she was, she
Mm.
started saying, no, you are being too much. You are being too much. This is not what I wanted. And I realized that in most cases, we want something that we cannot relate to, even though we think we are that thing. But when we find someone similar to who we are, we still cannot relate to that person. And guess what the movie was called?
Mm.
Too saved. Understand that this is someone who's been saved, and even in the church, everybody knows her as too saved. But then she then turned and thought, this brother, when he found himself in God and he was about the things of God, then she's the one who told him, no, you are too saved. So what needs to happen in reality is that you need to have a balance. You need to know who you want to be with. You need to know how they can complement you as an individual. Remember, we are spiritual beings, as it may be. And that does not necessarily mean that you are someone who prays in the house 24/7. You are somebody like everything that you do in church, that is the same thing that you do at home. That is not possible, because at home you are not an usher, you're not a keyboard player, you're not a pastor, you are not anybody, you are not the worship team leader. At home, you are Malebu, who is a wife, who is a mother, and who is a woman. You understand that. So we need to create that balance and understand that if I need this type of a person, where
Mm.
I meet them should actually complement where I want them to be. So if you have met somebody in a club, then when you are together and that person wants to continue with the life of going to a club, then you start having a problem. It is the same as having someone in church, and when they want to continue living their church life, then you have a problem. So when you meet a brother, if you are in church and you meet a brother, you need to understand their lifestyle. Let me be honest with you. Character plays a major role in terms of choosing who you want to be with. So if you are looking for someone who will become what you want them to be, then that is an unrealistic expectation. It is unrealistic in the sense that you found someone in a certain way. So what you do, you have to understand their principles, how they live their lives, how they want to live their lives going forward. Because to be honest with you, Malebo, who you are today is not who your husband met years ago. So we grow as people. We what I would we don't necessarily change, but we grow into different stages in our lives, whereby we become better and better as individuals and also as partners. So what you need to do is that if you think brothers in church are an issue, you also need to realize that brothers in church are also people. So going to church does not change who they are, does not change their character. Because you will find them in church, and when they come out of church, out of playing that keyboard, and then out in the street, that is a completely different person. When they are at work, they are being themselves. When they are out there, they are themselves. But when they get to church, they respect the space, they respect the surrounding, and they become something that you get attracted to. But the moment you get involved with them, you realize that, but that is not who I actually saw or who I met in church. So you need to understand that my spirituality is not everything in my life. I have to create a balance between my spirituality. My soul also needs to live. And where does my soul live? My soul live in the world. So when my soul lives in the world, then you need to understand how I relate to the world and how I view the world. And as much as that would be influenced by my spirituality, but at the same time, I need to understand that creating a balance from the spiritual to the soul is of great importance. So when you see those differences, do not think that, you know what, oh, what do they call him, he's got multiple personalities. No, it is about how we relate to the environment. So let me tell you something. Look, some of the keyboard brothers, some of the worship leaders, they are not as bad. It's just that you need to learn to understand them. If he is a player in church, he's a player out there. If you find him like all the girls throw themselves at him because he plays the keyboard, because he leads the worship team, and then you're thinking, oh, if I can find that man, then I am good. And you are thinking that he's gonna be singing for you in the house. No, that is not how it works. Then you need to create a balance. So know who you're looking for, know who you want to be, know how you want someone who can create a balance in this different environment, because that is what is important.
One person here, Coach Unati says, hey, stay away from born again guys because they are not hungry enough for success. And this is what the people were saying, that when when the born again, like, Tabo, I'm not talking about you here. I'm talking about the deep guys who are going to church every day, who are friends with the pastor and all that. Like, it looks like their life revolves around the church. Like, it's like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like they are so scared of anything, like anything that is out there. They're like, no, I'm doing everything for God, and God will provide. They don't have money, and I know, yes, we're saying God will provide, but I mean, me and you, we go to church. We go to church, we are born again, but we still go to work and we have businesses. So it's like, those type of people who are not ambitious. And I think, even with a friend of mine, I know that the guy was not working. The lady was the one who was working. So I think that is the problem. The other problem that I'm also picking up is with this other lady who told me that there was a pastor who had, told this lady that he is a virgin, and in the church we are preaching against drinking alcohol and all that. So obviously they got married and they have never had sex before. And go honeymoon, when they were supposed to have sex, this guy, the pastor who has been preaching about alcohol, he is the one who's opening the alcohol now. He's sitting down and drinking ka honeymoon. And the lady's like, what the heck? I've been sold a lie. So to me, I think my decision in the church was more of, I know that in the church there's a whole lot of act. Like, I don't know if people are able to be themselves in the church because of the word of God. But a lot of people, when, like, there was this other time I went to a club. I personally, I am drinking. So I went to a club, but by the time I was not drinking. And I met two of the sisters from church, and they were drinking there. But when they saw me, because me, I'm free, I can drink everywhere. I'm not going to say, hey, I'm not drinking because what. But with them, they saw me and they were thinking, because by that time I was not holding alcohol. They were thinking, yo, Sister Malebu saw us drinking, and I greeted them. And literally, these people were like this. They didn't even want me to see, but I had so. But I think it's more of an act than trying to change the person. I think the sisters are crying that, hi brothers, guys, loosen up, man. And sometimes again, it's because when they are in the church, hey, they are praying in tongues. When they get home, this is another person. How me, I was sold that person in the church. Now this one, I don't know him. Yeah, hey,
No, I think here's one thing that we need to look at. I'm the one person who actually discourages the brothers who love to say, I'm called to full-time ministry. I'm the one who always discourages them to say, look, there is no such a thing as full-time ministry. Your life on its own is a full-time ministry. So if you want to start a church, if you want to have a church, if you want to make your life revolve around church, you still need to make sure that the church opens other avenues for you. Because at the end of the day, right now, like for instance, the pandemic has actually exposed a whole lot of those type of full-time ministry guys. I always told them the very same thing. I said, do not think that if you say you are called to full-time ministry, that takes away your ambition, that takes away your vision, that takes away your desire to succeed in life. That should not take anything that God has blessed you with away. What it needs to do is that when you are saying you believe that you are called to full-time ministry, you need to understand that that is a vehicle that can actually help you to empower yourself, to look at other avenues of success. Don't just put your what do they call it, by the way,
basket.
uh, all your things in one basket and think, you know what, this is where I want to be. I know that there are brothers who are actually hiding laziness behind church. They don't want to do anything. They just say, look, the ministry will take care of me, and that is what happens right now during the pandemic. We have been dealing with pastors who do not have anything, who had nothing to serve their own families, who had nothing to do. Why? Because all of them, they actually just focused or else relied on the church in order to survive. And I always, those that are close to me, I would tell them, to say, look, what you are doing is very dangerous, because at the end of the day, you are actually putting your life and your growth and your visions and ambitions in the hands of people. So if the church does not tithe, does not offer, that means you and your family are not going to eat. And if they start doing that, now you're going to start being that person who actually becomes, you've got favorites in the church, because these ones are tithing full times, these ones are the ones who offer full time. And now if they don't, you worry. Why? Because now you have put your trust in their works. Now that we are faced with the pandemic, they also have financial issues. They can't do anything. Now you've created a certain lifestyle from the works of other men. Now that they cannot help you with that, you become frustrated. And you need to understand that they can't, because they are also facing the same pandemic as you are. Now, if you find a brother who says, look, I'm called to church, this is all that I have to do, then you should be worried. Don't fall for that type of a person. Because at the end of the day, we are not of this world, but we are in this world. So if we are in this world, that means we need to learn to function in this world. That does not mean that I have to leave my biblical principles and boundaries, but that means I still need to say, oh, by the way, I'm a man. God himself said I need to provide, because he that does not provide is worse than an unbeliever. So how do I need to find means to provide? Does that mean that I have to now commercialize? This is how I put it. You commercialize the ministry just so you can create a lifestyle for yourself. Now, you're going to be frustrated, because if people are not giving, if the congregation is not giving, you're going to start having those problems where you look at people as, yeah, these ones are not offering. These ones, they don't tithe. The people don't even know. You don't even pray for them anymore. Why? Because they're no longer feeding your lifestyle. So if you meet a brother and you see that this guy is lazy, he might have given himself to Christ and in the things of the Lord, but if he cannot have a vision on how to be a man, how to be a husband, how to be a father, how to be a businessman, how to fend for himself, how to provide for himself, then you are going to have an issue with him. Then don't fall for that type of a person. Church and our spirituality should not take our, in fact, it should empower us. It should empower us to be able to fend for ourselves, to be able to have vision, to be ambitious about life. There are many major preachers who have opened mega churches, and what they do, they use the church as an avenue to create other sources of income. They run businesses. They are authors. They run this type of business. They do this. They are preachers. They're motivational speakers. They are just everywhere. How do they do that? It's simply because they did not put all their eggs in one basket. They realized that if God has called me to be a minister, whether you are a keyboard minister or you are a worship team leader or you are a pastor or any other way, you use that as a vehicle to realize your dreams, your visions, your ambitions, so that you can still function as a man in this world. You can still function as a woman. You can still be the person that you're supposed to be, whether you are a single person, whether you're a husband or a wife, whether you are a father or a mother, you still need to be ambitious enough to function in this world in a way that will show your spiritual maturity. Because if you just put everything one place and you do nothing, that does not show spiritual maturity, because there's nowhere where where God says you need to be lazy. You need to sit and just rely on ministry. That is not what the Bible says. So if you do that, how are you going to provide for your own family? Because God did not say the church should be your source of income. He never said that. So the commercializing mentality is what kills a whole lot of brothers. So be careful. If you have someone, it doesn't matter where you meet them. If they are not ambitious, if they don't understand their identity in terms of who they are supposed to be or how they're supposed to live their life, then you need to be careful of such people, because they're not going to take you anywhere. No, God has called me to be here. God has actually, given me this ministry. I know we are going to get somewhere. Hey, we are hungry now. We're hungry right now. What are we going to eat? What can you provide as a man of the house? No, no, no. God will provide. How will God provide? Because God blesses the works of your hands. So if you are not working, how do you expect him to provide? You still expect him to just drop manna from heaven? Hey, you have a wife, you have kids, they want to eat. You can't just look at them and say, God will provide. Your kids will not gonna understand that. No, dad, you are the one who's supposed to reflect the image of God in this house. So since God has put you as the head, then it means you need to show us who God is. But if you don't do that, then you are not living according to the will and purpose of God. Go and do something. Work. Start a business. Run something. Hey, even if it means be a one-day motivational speaker, be a social media motivational speaker, do that. Do something that will make you the provider that you're supposed to be. So be careful of such guys.
Wow. Yeah, that one, I say yes, 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 yes. Because we have, I mean, I am following a whole lot of pastors, especially in America, who are just not pastors only, but they are known publicly. We buy their books and all that. And if those people have, I don't know how many streams of income, and even though their churches are so big that the
Mm.
tithe and the offering would make it, but they still have other businesses that they are doing, because I believe that God has given us even different gifts. You can be a pastor and then also have another gift on the side that you can use.
Oh, yes.
So the second question is already 30 minutes since we have been talking about this, and we haven't spoken about how to grow together in love. But anyway, I wanted to ask you a question. This lady is saying, where did or how do you deal with ignorance in a relationship? In relationships, if your partner was supportive, always making sure they don't sleep without checking you, but all of a sudden things change, they distance themselves, and when you talk about it, still nothing is changing. So what can you say to the sister?
Firstly, we need to understand why the sudden change in terms of character and behavior. What started? When did it start? Because at the end of the day, we need to be able to communicate whenever there are certain things that makes us to change the way we are, that makes us to change how we actually relate to one another. So if there is a change, let's learn to communicate. Talk to me about it. Why are you no longer checking up on me? I need to understand, because you used to do that, So every change of character, every change of conduct needs to influence or to provoke a question. Be curious about it. Why are we now here? Because this is not how we started. And the issue is when you are faced with someone who doesn't know how to communicate, who doesn't know, not knowing how to communicate, I'm saying someone who doesn't want to talk to you about it. And there should not be that kind of attitude towards people who love one another. We need to be able to have that open communication, But unfortunately, if somebody decides to just do that all by themselves, yes, it will hurt you. And if they don't talk to you about it, then you need to start being selfish. This is where I tell people sometimes you need to be selfish in a relationship. When you see that someone is actually pushing you to a wall, or else they just don't give you much to work on, start taking care of yourself. Think about you. How would it be if somebody else was forcing themselves on you? Because at some point, it ends up feeling like you are forcing yourself on them. you know and the danger in that is that they will end up you'll end up pushing them farther and farther away from you, because they don't want to talk to you. Why they don't want to talk to you? They don't want to tell you why they don't want to talk to you. Then be selfish. Just say, you know what, okay, let me leave you to be who you are, and let me live my life. Because at the end of the day, we need to be matured enough to understand and to know or identify when we are needed and when we are no longer needed. So if someone start, distancing themselves without cause, Malebo, I'm that one person. If a person, whether a friend or even an ex, if they started distancing themselves from me, I extend the distance. That is just how I am. Because I believe that Malebo, as a sister and a friend, if she has that issue with me, she will say, hey, boy, now we've got issues, we need to talk. But if you decide to go silent on me, I'm saying, wow, okay, that is fine. I'm going to keep my distance as well. Because sometimes we just don't know when we are infringing people's space. We just don't know when we are needed and when we are not needed. So learn to not force things on anybody. We are adults. The moment you decide to fall in love with someone or be in a relationship with someone, you have accepted their adulthood. So behave like an adult. Don't just ignore Wanomungwe and expect them to come running after you every time. That is not how it works. If they ignore you, ignore them. If they, if they don't give you that attention, don't give them that attention. That is just my motto. And believe you me, it works better. Because at the end of the day, that person will turn and say, oh, now you don't care about me. No, no, no. What do you mean I don't care about you? The last time I'm the one who gave you a call, we were fine, and then suddenly you're no longer just checking up on me. You're no longer texting me. You're no longer, I used to get 3 calls within 30 minutes, and now I'm getting none. I would understand if it was 1 call, but now I'm getting nothing. What could be happening? So we learn to communicate. Learn to communicate all the changes. The moment you identify them, ask what is happening. If they don't want to tell you, give them their space. Do not force yourself on somebody. When it comes to matters of the heart, the person who loves you should understand that there are certain things that would easily hurt you if you don't give me attention, if you distance yourself from me, if you don't talk to me, if if you change your behavior, if you avoid or ignore me. Those are common things, like things which we should know that if one starts doing this, that means you are now starting to hurt the relationship. But unfortunately, many people don't engage on that, and that is where the problem is. There are certain things I cannot do to my wife. If she calls me right now and I see that, okay, she calls me, I'm busy with something, it's a missed call, she calls 3 times, and I take the entire day and I don't call her, I need to think, what could be going through her mind? What is she thinking right now? Why was she calling me? Obviously, even if it was about, hey, babes, I miss you, that should actually receive
Okay. I think the internet is starting again. Hello, Tabo. Can you hear me? Let's see. Hello, guys. Can you hear us? I think we are losing Tabo there. Hello, hello, hello. Okay. Let's wait a bit. Is it my internet? Oh gosh. Okay, I think we have lost Tabo there. Every time during this time, the internet decides to okay, okay. The internet decides to do something else. I am not sure why, but since Tabo we have lost him, I will carry on until he comes back. I'm not sure what is the problem, but okay, there we go, there we go.
was it me? Hey, what was happening?
I was just saying right now that every time during this time, there has to be an internet. You know what? Next week, it will be the last session that I will be having with Tabo. But I will pray in tongues before the session starts so that the internet doesn't do this, because we are talking about serious stuff, and then just while you're talking and then it goes off. But anyway, I heard you loud and clear there, and I also wanted I think I've also spoke to this lady about it, that you know what, if I have a problem of, for instance, I'm in a relationship and I have a problem, maybe I'm too committed, my work and all that, then I need to I need to communicate with the person who's in a relationship with me. But if then I don't communicate, I know of people who have ended relationships by just being quiet, meaning that, hey, I don't want to hurt her, or I don't want to hurt him, I'm just going to be quiet, and she will then see her way out. And sometimes this can be the issue, that this person just, maybe they are just thinking, oh, I don't want this relationship anymore, so this one will sort themselves out. So if you are here, whoever is here, whoever asked this question, or if you also have that situation in your life, please know, like Tabo said, how to distance yourself as well, how to be selfish with yourself, so that you don't overgive as if like you are begging to be loved. You can, in the interim, while a person is doing that, love yourself, so that you can attract a person who understands how to communicate, who understands how to love you the way you want to be loved. So let us get into the order of today before the internet does its thing. So Tabo, we have, again, this is an issue, maybe because I'm a woman, I'm talking to women a lot, and I know you are a man, but you're talking to both people because you are a relationship coach. So women, like we've spoken about it, that they feel like they are doing a whole lot of work on themselves, but the men are not coming to party. Now, today we are talking about how do we then, as a couple, grow together, even if we are in marriage or we are in a relationship, so that I don't leave people behind. Because I have seen people who have lost their 20-year marriage because they felt like, oh, my goodness, I don't know this person anymore. I have grown so much that I don't even know who's this. Is this my husband or is this my wife? So how do we then grow together? And I know a lot of people want to get into a place where they want to maybe suggest that, hey, go and see Tabo. Tabo is a very, very powerful person, and you need to go to them because obviously they want what's good for their husbands or their boyfriends. But then how do you then approach this issue in a manner that it will be, it will help the relationship to grow as well?
Coach, I strongly believe that love and loving is life in progress. So if that is the case, that means one, if we want to grow together, we need to make the commitment willingly so to grow together. We need to have an element of willingness that says, even I, as an individual, I need to grow in this relationship. I need to grow in this marriage and communicate that with your spouse. Now, we know that communication is important for a business to grow. Osmalebo, what they do, the bosses or the managers will sit you all down and give you the scope, the process, and the procedure. They will give you the mission statement and then show you how they want to work with you to achieve those goals. Relationships shouldn't be any different. When we sit together, we have to discuss these things. Firstly, we need to understand our individual growth. Our individual growth is as important as the team growth. However, individually, we pick things that attract us, things that we will grow interest in. And as we gather those and realize that, you know what, as an individual, I can grow in this area, what needs to happen is that you communicate with your partner. I have found a new hobby. I found a new business venture. I found something that will help. I feel I need to study for something. So you have to communicate that with your spouse. Let me be honest with you. There's no way you can grow in a relationship without communicating. There's no way you can grow because the communication brings the plan on the floor. This is what I need to do. This is what you need to do. Now, let's plan. How do we get there? Let's prioritize which one takes precedence. Okay. So after we have done all that, then we have a plan of action. How do we achieve all these goals? How do we achieve all this growth process that we want to go through? So if we need each other, then we also have to sit and say, this is how I would love you to contribute on this journey of growth as an individual. And you also share the same with your spouse. Or else you can say, certain things we can do together. We can grow together in this, but always have a plan of action. Always know what you need to do and how you want to do it. If there are those goals that you can achieve individually, make sure that you always communicate them. That is what matters the most, because sometimes you find that you are with a person who's doing completely different from what you are doing. They have different interests, than the interest that you are, the things that you are interested in. Now, it will be frustrating if you try to bring them, or they try to bring you in their zone over things that you are not well equipped to handle. To you, they work. To you, they help you to grow. They empower you. They take you places. But if that is not part of their gift and you are forcing them to come in it, it's going to hurt them. Now, what you need to do is to have a plan of saying, this is how I would love you to support in my growth as an individual. One of the most important thing that we often overlook when it comes to the issue of growing is that sometimes some times we become that selfish. And when we become that selfish, we forgot this important thing called communication. No, if you find that I see that my spouse is actually stagnant. If they are stagnant, do I actually just focus on what I want to do and leave them where they are? Because in most cases, coach, you find that we have competitive mentality in the marriage. There are a lot of people with competitive mentality, and you wonder how can they therefore grow together with a competitive mentality. So what you do, I can do better. And they don't even communicate this. Okay, if you are bringing 1 rand in the house, I can bring 10 rands in the house. And who's the man now? And now you look at it and think, we are not in actual fact going to grow together if that is the case. But what we need to do is, let's sit down, let's communicate our individual relationships. Malebu, as an individual, you need to have a relationship with and within yourself. You need to have that relationship. So you need to understand where you are spiritually, where you are mentally and emotionally and physically, where you are financially, where you are academically, where you are in terms of business. You need to understand yourself in that area. Now, if you see that you need growth or else things are going well for you, you need to understand that, by the way, I am not alone. I need to bring somebody into this. Now, again, we sit on the table and say, what are your goals? What is your, this is something that a lot of people don't communicate from the beginning of the relationship or marriage. And it is important when you commit yourself in it. Sit down, bring all your dreams, your visions, your goals, your desires together. Bring them together and say, how do we work on this? Because if you don't, believe you me, you will come as an individual in the marriage, and you will also live like an individual in the marriage, because your spouse is not part of that growing process that you are actually going through. And they will also become very isolated. It's sad when I'm a label. And here's the thing: there are certain things that I believe we cannot do as individuals. We cannot do as individuals. And I'm going to give you a typical example of me as a relationship and marriage advisor. If I am dealing with people, if I am dealing with couples, then I also need to be a couple. I also need to be a couple.
I have a
That is
question on
very
that.
important. So if I also have to be a couple, Osmalebu, when you come to me and need advice, you need to have this woman who can relate, to what Malebu is talking about. And that on its own, that means whatever that I do with regards to the ministry, with regards to the coaching, I involve my wife in it. Not to say she's going to be like me, not to say that she has to be where I am. No, what is needed is that she needs to understand the process of growth and the type of ministry that I am in, that I can't do it by myself. I always say to people, Osmalebu, imagine I'm a marriage advisor, and wherever I go, I'm just alone. My wife is not there. Whether I'm invited to speak to couples, I'm invited to speak to women, I'm just by myself, but I am talking to couples. Imagine what that does, because there's going to be that element of questioning as to, by the way, where is the wife?
Mm.
It doesn't mean that my wife has to be a relationship coach like me. But believe you me, another thing that works better for me is that when she's sitting there and she is nodding, smiling, and applauding what I'm doing, believe you me, that is the support that I need. And on its own, it is helping us to grow together. And I don't want to lie to you. As I said, there's no way as a couple you can grow together unless you communicate your spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, academic, financial, and everything that you would want to grow into. Communicate everything. If you don't communicate, you will always leave each other behind. And by the time you realize that you are over there, your spouse is way over there, and you guys are no longer working together. And now you start filling the gap in between the two of you. And the moment you try to close that gap, because you have built a whole lot of things that actually helped to push, create the gap, now you find yourself in a position where it hurts to come back together, because you have to go through all the barriers that you have created while you were growing apart. Why? Simply because there was no element of communication. There was no element of consideration that I'm not alone. There was an element of selfishness in between. So if you want to grow together, make sure that you understand the reality, that you communicate each and every little detail with your spouse. If they are not interested, you need to also make them understand. If you are not interested in this, just know that I'm going to walk this process alone. And as I grow into this process alone, there will always be that void, that I wish my spouse was with me on this journey. Not to say that maybe they have to do the same thing, but at least to know that I am with my spouse on this journey. I'm receiving the support. I'm getting he or she is interested in what I do. He or she is always there. Every time when we try to do something, I'm getting that much support, that encouragement, that motivation. That is exactly what I need. It helps you to grow together, even though you are doing different things, but you grow together. Why? Because you communicate your process of growth. So communicate, and communicate as much as you can.
I love that. I love that because I have been so much against the fact that people will talk about relationships, right?
Mm.
But when you look at their relationships, it's something else. So for myself, I coach people about fitness and other life things, but I am
Mm.
coaching them from my own experience and how I have also transformed from being that Malebu who was big and all that to this person. But then I get a lot of people who are into relationships, and yes, they understand the methods of relationships and how it can work, but I believe that it should work for you. And like you said, oh, Selena doesn't have to be a relationship coach, but the energy between you and Oselina talks to us as people, that these people are together in this. These people understand each other on this one. And the second one that I'm picking up, which is the problem, I don't know why do we actually have a problem with communication, and we just expect people to, okay, now this person must do this person must do this. And I think that is what makes us grow apart as people, that we
Mm.
don't communicate. And I love when you are saying that. My husband, I think it was yesterday or day before, was telling me about his 2-year goal. And I was like, okay, okay. And then he said to me that, what are you going to be doing in this whole thing? So I then asked, because we are communicating, is there anything that you want me to do in order for you to achieve this? And what is it that you would want for me to do? And he was clear that, no, it's not like I want you to be hands-on, but I just want you to support me. I just want you to understand when I say I am going where, because I am focused on this goal of my 2-year plan. So I think
Mm.
in relationships, we are not relationshiping this thing right, man. We are not talking like you are. And I know, because even me, that was the problem before, that we don't communicate. We just assume things are, yeah, he's my husband, he has to buy kids clothes. Like we are communicating within ourselves, and then we wake
Mm.
up one day and realize that this person hasn't been doing what I have been thinking he's supposed to be doing for many years, so I'm going to cut them off and all of that. But then when we we communicate with each other. And sometimes people are thinking that, oh, hey, we are too much, hey, but it's
Mm.
because there is never something that is called over communicating. It's
Yeah.
us, trying to say, babes, I'm going, those smaller yana things, babes, I'm going to the mall, I'm going to buy something. It teaches you how to communicate even bigger things that,
Mm.
and again, another thing, Tabo, that I always see is the fact that when we are communicating, especially the people who are not happy. For instance, I want to grow with my partner, and my husband is a DJ. I am a life coach. I'm a holistic coach, and obviously, maybe he might not understand the things that I'm doing, but he's fully aware of what exactly. But maybe that's not his interest. But then
Mm.
if I want him now to get into a point where he's going to do personal development according to how I view it, because with him he might view it a different way, how I communicate it to him, I should make the environment conducive for him to say, what is that? So sometimes we
Mm.
are coming with our pre whatever installed ideas that this man must go to church and pray, this man must sign up for Coach Malebu's program. And then when you get there, you are not even explaining to someone. There are other people who don't understand what life coaches are doing. And then you are saying to
Mm.
them, you need to watch Coach Malebu. That woman is powerful, and subscribe to her courses and all that. Now, the person is becoming, who? Why is this woman in my house? And especially if it's coming from a man and you are like enforcing it on your wife or your girlfriend, you are in a way saying that you are not good enough. If you can see that woman, what she's doing 1 2 3 and 4 and 5. But if we can explain, create a friendship, and this is what I want us to talk about, creating a friendship. Because when I talk to my friends Bongile, I used to it used to be different than what I'm when I talk to my husband, because I thought, Bongile is my, yeah, and then we laughing and all these things. But when I come home, then we are like, yeah, give me classroom, and then we are taking notes. Kante, the simplest thing is that those things that I'm doing with Bongile, if I can take them into my own marriage, then they can help us grow. And I would be
Mm.
open and talk to my husband in a way, because when I'm talking to Bongile about a new program that I have signed up for, I don't say, hey, Wena, go and sign up for that program. What I say is that, hey,
Mm.
I met this other woman called Unati. Yo, that woman is doing miracles. Yo, I've signed up. Why don't you sign up for it? And then she will also ask me questions, because the environment is conducive for her to ask, how, what is Unati doing? But then when you come into marriage, we are coming with this weapons, guns blazing, that you need to subscribe to Coach Malebu. And if you don't do it, it means that you don't love me. And if you don't love me, I'm packing my bags. I think where we need to do again is the soulmate. So tell me, how do we get into a process of my husband and I, or anyone who's watching here, soulmating, getting into the process of being soulmate, that sometimes I don't even have to think that my husband is not okay. I know, I can feel it, that he's not okay.
Soul mating for me is the most important part of a relationship, because without that, we have seen a whole lot of people trying to mate through external things, through material things, through acquisitions, and they always find themselves at a breaking point. Why? Because the soul has to mate first in order for you guys to be able to face the world out there. Now, the process of soul mating, it's an everyday thing. You don't, I hear people say, hey, I found my soulmate. That's a lie, because a soul that mates, mating is a process. You can't just find somebody today and say, I found my soulmate. Now, remember, the soul is your mind and your emotions. That is your soul. So now, if you want to mate with your spouse, you have to understand that means you need to be as naked as can be in those areas. That means you need to express, you need to communicate your intentions, your desires, your needs, your feelings, your emotions, basically. You need to be able to be, you need to be in a relationship that is so conducive enough for you to be able to lay yourself down in those two areas. Now, if you don't do that, you are blocking each other out of your soul mating process. And that is why most of the time, if you don't learn to manage that, if you don't learn to master that process of soul mating, you are actually going to find it difficult every time and to develop negative expectations and perceptions. He or she should do this. Agree, she loves me. Agree, he loves me. You get to a mode of expecting unrealistically more than influencing your intentions. Because if you don't, coach, there are people who actually expect their spouse to do certain things that their spouse have never even heard that they like. When people come for counseling, and you hear somebody say, yeah, but you've never given me a massage in your entire life. The guy or the lady has no clue how to massage. But when you are expecting them to massage you and you don't even express it to say, hey, babes, by the way, can you massage me? Or how do I massage? I have no idea how to massage. No, let's buy oil, put it here. This is how you rub me. Sometimes in marriage, especially in marriage, you treat each other like like when you're teaching a child to do something. Because believe you me, even as much as we love one another, we don't know everything about you. We don't. So whatever that you grow into, put me in the know. Let me know what you're growing to. Let me know what you desire, what you want, how you feel. My wife and I, at some point, we even used to say, babes, even when you wake up one day and you are moody, don't just wake up and make me food and do that, and then just say, baby, breakfast is ready. No, don't you dare do that. Before you get out of bed, just say to me, I am very moody today and I don't understand what is happening. I'm very moody. Okay, love, do you want us to engage and find out where it started? Or do you just want a little bit of time to yourself? No, I just need my time. Okay, no, that is fine. If you just need your time, let me be busy with something. But I would really love it if you can just let me know, find out why you were actually moody. Now, that on its own, it grew into making it very easy for us to communicate about anything. But people normally, they don't communicate about their hidden thoughts, about their hidden emotions. And that is where the soul needs to mate. You need to have someone that you can be so free to just say anything to them, and with no fear that they will condemn you, they will judge you, they will ridicule you. That you need to be so free, because that is the process of soul mating. So if indeed you want to mate with someone through the soul, make sure that you express your thoughts, your hidden thoughts, your doubts, your fears, your concerns. Even those that you think, hey, Mara, are we gonna make it? You need to express those. Now, the emotion that comes with it as well. I feel like this. I feel like that. My feelings are taking me from one place to another. Be able to communicate that. As you do that, you become best of friends. Now, because you can be able to just express yourself in any way, without fear, without doubt, without thinking this person is going to take me somehow, and as you do that, your soul starts to dwell together. Why? Because I know that when I talk to him, when I tell her this, she will be able to embrace me. She will reprimand me. She will be serious about things. She will give constructive, criticism. But at the end of the day, I know that the intention is for us to master this art of soul mating. So it is an ongoing process, and we need to be mindful of it.
Wow, wow, wow. I love that. And I love the fact that it's not like a destination, that is something that we do every day. And we are seeing you. We are You know, I am inspired. You know, guys, when I met Tabo, I don't know how we met on Facebook, but the first time I was like, who is this guy? I went and I was like, no, man, this. Then I called him. We started doing a show together and we going for retreats. And I promise you, when this man talks about relationships, he is a very passionate person when it comes to relationships and marriages. And I want to personally thank you for that you are helping us. I mean, like I said last time, that Tabo is our marriage counselor. He's also helping us soulmate, you know, and become the people that God intended for us to be. So today, yes, it has been an hour since we have been live. Today we have been talking about growing together as a couple. One of the things that I'm picking up is that we need to communicate even the little things, you know, and we also need to get into a process of being naked with one another. Whether you are in a relationship or a marriage, you need to be able to talk to your spouse about anything under the sun. I mean, not so long ago, I was telling my husband about something that I didn't even know what it was. I was trying to explain that this is how I feel. And when I feel this thing, hey, something else happens. And my husband couldn't even understand. But that is that process of soul mating, that you can even talk about your confusion, your frustrations, and even the good things that you embark on, or the journey that you embark on. So, Tabo, I'm catching you what off guard. But next week, as we close the session, we are going to be talking about sex, because we as married people, I don't know about the people who are not married, because I don't want to be the one who is taking people to hell. So I'm going to say next week we are talking about how we can have and enjoy sex as a man and a woman, because I know so many people who are thinking that women don't like sex. In marriage it's boring, there's no sex, I'm not going to marry because, hey, in marriage there's no sex. And we need to cancel all this a myth about marriage, and all the myth about women not liking sex and men liking it so much. And we touched on that on our I don't know, 2019 video. But we are going to again get deeper into that how can a man and a woman, actually a husband and a wife, enjoy sex together without feeling like they are deprived, without feeling like they are forced or anything else. And I don't see questions on the floor. So thank you very much for being with us and taking your time out of your busy schedule to always be here with us. Is there anything that you want to say before we close?
Thank you so much for having me, Coach. It's gonna be interesting then next week, because the fact that that notion that women don't like sex is a myth, it's a lie. And we will share about it more on it. In actual fact, women love it more than men do.
Yes.
So we will talk more about it next week. But thank you so much for having me. And as always, it is a pleasure. We will speak again next week.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Have a wonderful night.